and it's magic.
Wow, that was fancy.
Yes, and thank you. We have Cort Davies with us today, and we are day number. I'm so used to doing day number because of all the shows that I've done under day number, such and such for service heroes. But we are on the Giving-Thon, and so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 hours in.
Wow. Okay, so
Hour
it's the
number
beginning. You
4.
have a long way to go, but that's good.
Yeah, we are. You know what? I'm feeling pretty refreshed after our last segment with Cheryl Angela and the harp. And she was mentioning something about the fact that there are some masters out there that say that you don't even need sleep. You just need to, be able to replenish ourselves. And so I want to visit with you, but let's introduce you because you're new. You're new to me. You were introduced to me. Actually, you came to me through two different sources, which I thought was so interesting.
Yes.
My dear friend Mikey Ada Cohen and then Eric Swanson
Yep.
said, "Hey, you guys need to connect." And then when we visited, it was like, "Yes, we sure do." And I was like, "Okay, I need you to come on, and we're going to just visit today." Because you have a story, and to me, you are so inspirational, and the timing is such that it is by no accident that we are in the same place at the same time.
For sure.
To be able to make a difference. Why don't you introduce yourself, Cort?
My name is Cort Davies. I'm in San Clemente, California, not too far from you, Tamara.
Right.
And what do you want to know about me? What do you want the intro to be?
Well, okay, so let's do this. I'm just going to recognize we've got some we've got some people in the house, and they're saying they're in the house. So I'm just saying David Jones is in the house. I love it. And Spencer Rose, a good evening to you out of Chicago, Illinois. And what I want to do is I really appreciate your story and the fact that you are going live with it, because I do not let a diagnosis define me. It hasn't defined me. It hasn't controlled my life, but it's still, you have to walk through it. You have to do what you need to do. And many of us are feeling callings at this very point in time, which I find is very interesting, but not an accident, that we need to do something to help others that are experiencing something in their life right now that is a bit difficult. And you currently are someone that is on stages. You're doing a documentary. You have a book that's being published, and written about your journey. And you are here with this amazing smile and energy, and you have a story that you're dealing with right now.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'd like for you to be able to share, because I think that people need to be able to hear that.
Okay. So I've been telling this story a lot lately, which is good though. It's good that I'm able to have this platform. But I would say I'm currently considered a stage 4 cancer patient. I mean, I'm late stage. And, I have a rare cancer called malignant paraganglioma. I like to say that my body has the cancer, not me. The body gives it a little less permanence. And so, like you said, I don't like to be defined by the diagnosis. And so, it was interesting. I was actually on the phone with someone the other day, and I had realized it had been 2 years since my diagnosis. I was diagnosed on November 30th of 2017.
Oh, wow.
And so I've had a long road. I've had 7 surgeries since then. I've been on many experimental drugs. I'm on another experimental drug, 2 experimental drugs at UCSD right now. And I just got an MRI the other day, so we're hoping that things are going backwards the way that they're supposed to be going. Mm-hmm. We haven't really been able to slow stuff down yet, but yet I'm still not I don't really have that much concern. I know I'm going to get through it. I know that I'm going to beat this thing. It's just a matter of time. And, it's not, these things aren't getting in the way. They're just on the way, right? They're just on the way of my journey.
That's right.
And so, I just recently did a TED Talk in Sugar Land, Texas, and I am coming out with a book, and we're doing a docuseries. And so I've really committed my life to helping and educating and impacting new cancer patients, new cancer thrivers, I like to call them. Patience isn't a fun word.
No, and I agree with you 100%. And I want to also, this is something that when you and I visited the very first time, I mentioned, and you said, yeah, you know it. And that is, I'm grateful that you're out there sharing this, because there's not enough guys out there right now that are saying, hey, because and not to be stereotypical, because I'm not. I'm the least stereotypical person that you would ever know. However, the reality of it is, within this world, we are the community that we are serving, that there seems to be a difference, a disconnect almost, when it comes to the female and the male population, and there hasn't been enough of the men stepping up and saying, okay, this is who I am. And yeah, it doesn't define me. I am Cort. I am, yes, I'm up on TEDx stages. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And yet I do have to every once in a while sit in a chair and get some medicine. And it is not the end all be all for me. What this is just is a matter of a stepping stone to get through, to get to the other side, and to also share a message that you can too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's the vulnerability thing. I think a lot of men aren't as prepared to be vulnerable as women are. And I think that has been probably one of the biggest changes of my life, has been being able to be vulnerable. And by the way, I don't feel like you can heal until you become vulnerable.
Yeah, good point. Yes.
So that's like a big deal. And so, the topic I like to talk about, holistically, is stress. And so what you're doing with your foundation is it's attending to stress. When you have someone to speak with, when you have someone to go along with your journey, by the way, that isn't your family or your friends, because there's an emotional attachment with those people, you start to realize that there are other people going through what you're going through, and it makes the journey a lot more palatable. It makes the journey a lot more digestible. Right. And so what you do is you help people deal with their stress, right? I mean, you're helping people deal with the fact that they're not alone. There's others going through it. And so, I want to create a holistic, education behind that, and teaching people, what are those stresses that, the chronic stresses that we're all dealing with. And, we are seeing from scientific evidence, finally, what you do, by the way. I mean, simply what you do. They're saying that cancer patients that have social support, like from support groups or just someone to talk to, they live longer. They live longer lives.
Exactly.
And so I know what you're doing is incredible, because you are helping cancer patients live longer lives. And that's when we get down to the core benefit, right? We get down to the core benefit. It's Chemo Buddies. It's introducing you to someone that's going through what you're going through, but it's the core benefit is you're getting to experience something that someone else is going through. You're getting to feel like you're not alone. You get to feel hope. By the way, you're getting to learn a lot more, because it's two brains instead of one, right?
Yeah.
You're expanding possibilities, and you're making it easier for people to survive this disease. So I bravo you to that.
Well, thank you. We're bravoing each other then, because, and this is what I love about this community. It's prime right now. We have a community of people that are saying, okay, and we talked about this, you and I. I don't demonize any of those that are out there helping to save our lives.
Sure.
I am not going to, because I am alive because of choices I made,
Sure.
and I believed in those choices. They have to be in alignment, and then I sought out certain doctors, and we all in alignment decided on the treatment plan for myself. I'm alive for that reason. And because I had a buddy, and there's a lot of and quite honestly, it's that whole attitude. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this no matter, because I really had no idea what stage I was when I went through my whole thing, because I was a little later. My bad. And even with my history, my family history, I didn't go get the mammogram at the right time, and I was really lucky we caught what we caught when we caught it, because it was like, okay, well, I may have to just pay the fiddler, Tamara. You got to just do what you got to do, because you got to just live up to, okay, you're bad. However, okay, it was a good learning experience, and I can talk to that point now. I can tell people, don't do that, make sure you're on top of your testing. And when we have a community of people that are saying, yes, okay, science is getting the clue. They're actually writing it up in medical journals now. Who would have ever thunk it? It's like, okay, yeah, the heart and mind really do have something to do with the body. Yeah. I don't know, when I was in biology class and everything, I always thought they belonged together, in medical world, they kind of like, nope, that is insurance for this, and then that's insurance for that. No, it's not a whole, pieces and parts, and everything is like, okay, is that really the way it's done? And now when my doctor, because of what he saw, said, okay, I've been looking for people. Because what I see is that there are too many people alone, too many people
I agree with that.
Isolated, and too many people truly, like you said, dying because they are alone. They're losing hope, and they're not necessarily always the sickest ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really eye-opening to me, Cort. So that's when I started going out there and doing due diligence and talking to people. And I mean, I went out, and as many people would talk to me, I did. And when I found from many of the therapists that work with many of these groups, because they were willing to talk to me, was that it is more of an epidemic than many people think. They think cancer is an epidemic. Actually, my premise, my thought here is that what the epidemic is beyond the cancer is those that are losing their hope.
Sure.
And you coming out like you are and saying, okay, guys and gals, but it's like, okay, guys, let's get at this. And look at you. I know
my hair's a little disheveled, but I feel like I look okay.
You look great. Mine's a little disheveled too.
For what I'm going through,
Exactly. And you and I actually think about this too, is that when we go through the ebbs and flow, because we talked about that, it's a calendar situation too, isn't it?
Yeah.
You deal with the calendar situation. Do you want to talk about that? And you can explain that to others that maybe don't understand it.
What do you mean by calendar situation?
Well, it's like we were talking about, okay, so this is on Monday, and we were talking about medicines. Okay, you take your medicine, and then you have this amount of time, and then you have that medicine, and then you have that amount of time. I know that I was on every 3 weeks. So I would have my medicine 3 days in, I would be okay. 3 days after, I would be like starting to get all, by 4th and 5th, I lost my voice because the chemo sores were back, and each time they were worse. And so, it's like, okay, don't even think of if you're going to talk to someone, schedule it. Remember to talk to them with your voice here, right?
Yeah, I have it's so interesting you say that, because I go by my calendar. I live by my calendar, and so next week on Tuesday, I get this drug that I get every 4 weeks. And so I get a drug every 2 weeks and a drug every 4 weeks. And so the drug I get every 4 weeks is the one that really knocks me out. And so I actually have my calendar blocked off. So Tuesday I get the drug, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it just says recovery.
Right.
And you know what? It actually took me a while to get to that point, because I am, listen, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm on disability. My body is in a lot of pain, but I'm working on something that drives me, and that's this project. Like, I'm focusing everything on my own healing and impacting other people's through that healing. And so I honestly probably have been working too much and have been too hard on myself, especially with what I'm going through. But now I'm finally going, okay, I'm gonna get this treatment, and it is gonna knock me out, and I'm gonna have to be okay with it. It's okay to watch movies. It's okay to rest. Like, I sleep a lot. Like, I sleep, 10, 12, 14 hours a day sometimes. And, before, my old self, my old, type A personality would be like, oh, you're being lazy. And then I'm like, oh my God, I have cancer. Like, I have stage 4 cancer. Like, I have a late stage cancer. I have it in my bones and my spine. Like, my body is physically, hurting. And so, I really was probably too hard on myself. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I do. I live by my calendar. Like, those every 4 weeks come along, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to get knocked out a little bit. The one that happens every 2 weeks, the side effects aren't terrible. Like, I have ringing in my ears, and, I get a little kind of rage, like this, like steroid rage. Like, I want to,
I hated that.
like I want to punch through a wall or something, but I don't.
Yeah.
Meditation helps me with that.
Yeah.
So.
Or a lot of cleaning. That's what I did.
I can't bend over, so I can barely bend over.
Right. Yeah.
So,
okay, that makes sense.
So, doing that is difficult. Like, for me, like, I could spend my time learning, like reading books and listening to audiobooks and stuff like that. That kind of is what lets the time go by. And I could take walks, but I get numbness in my legs from time to time. So I think that perhaps it's all it's a perception of where you are, right? It's a perception of where you are in your journey. And so I think that for most people, if they were probably where I was, maybe their perception wouldn't be as uplifting and positive as where I am right now. But I think I trained a lot for that. Like, before I got into it, I was kind of ready. I had been working on myself. So,
and okay, keep going. But then next, I want to ask, in what way were you working on?
Yeah, sure. So yes, the calendar is huge, and I am allowing myself these days to rest and recuperate now. And I think that's a huge change. I think that is a big change for me. I think it's stripping away the old Cort and saying, hey, like, this like vulnerability, this rest and relaxation is critical to you healing. I mean, it's absolutely critical.
And we will go on, but I want to really hit that. I want to hit that hard, because that is one of the things that was also really hard for me. Many people that know me, they call me an energized bunny, because
I could already tell. I could already tell that it'd be hard for you.
What was even harder, and that was why I knew that this was something divine that I was supposed to do, because I was put in my room in isolation, because in my own house I had pneumonia. And you know what that's like. It's like, you just don't go out. They wanted to almost, like plaster the walls and the doors and everything, because, no, we can't let that get in there. And so I wasn't allowed out, except for just to go to the car to go again. And seriously, I had a little refrigerator, and people would throw things in, because what we ended up finding out is the source of the pneumonia was my mother, who we didn't know, who had multiple myeloma. And multiple myeloma, one of the big side effects on that one is pneumonia. And you get it, and it's difficult, if not impossible, to to get it to change, and we didn't know it at the time, and so we had this ongoing delayed, and it was a really bad cold and flu season. So the bottom line was I was put in isolation, and I'm thinking, okay, so I have my exercise bike, and I have this and that and this, and I will say that my side effect list, my doctor said I won the booby prize because I ended up with so many of them that there were times, in truth, that to think of getting through the minute was too big for me. I had to not even think that far in advance. It was getting through that moment, not even, the millisecond, whatever it may be, because it was, I needed to just not overwhelm myself. And that was an eye-opening experience for my personality. It's like, okay, my body is telling me, and it had to tell me, and I got it. It had to slam me because there was no way I was going to be prone if it had not said, okay, no, we're taking over. You're down. You're down for the count right now because we'll help you get through this. And our body has a way of doing that with us. Yet that's where the heart and mind and the soul come in. And yeah, having an energy spenny kind of situation, that's when I kept going out there and thinking, okay, I'll just tap into this. I'll tap into that. And there was nothing to tap into. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not right. And so, the evolution starts, but to allow ourselves, because my doctor had to really work with me and help me to get through that, because I kept going and saying, okay, why am I feeling guilty about this? Why am I beating myself up about this? It's, I did. And he was like, why in the heck would you be? Because your body is telling you how you can become better if you just start listening to it. Right?
Absolutely. I think you and I are very similar. I think so again, this is up for discussion, but I believe that cancer came to me to teach me a super valuable lesson, and I'm sure it did for you too, right?
Yeah.
And so
without a doubt, and I feel that my whole life's mission somehow knew that I knew there was something coming around the corner.
Yeah, me too. Me too. 100%. Like I had said, I had been preparing for this. And so what I feel is that I was probably living a pretty unfulfilling life. I definitely was. I was not taking the time out. And this is what we do, by the way. People that continuously are busy are the ones that don't sit still and actually get to know themselves, because they're scared to get to know themselves. And I have finally gotten to know myself. Like, that has been my cancer journey, is getting to know thyself. And let me tell you, I've had to shed a lot of things away that don't serve me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had how long have you been in California, Tamara? For a long time, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised here.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was in real estate in 2008 when the market crashed.
Oh yeah.
And I was a developer, and so I had to file bankruptcy. And so, I lost my condo, lost my home, and I went into this incredibly dark and deep depression. And I literally thought I lost everything, but it ended up being kind of the best thing that ever happened to me. And so I started working on my mindset. I started working on perception. I started, kind of getting into, the Tony Robbins of the world and things like that. And really just started, reading about, human behavior. And that was really what interested me. And so cancer comes along to me in 2017. And I had been, 7 years into an exploration of my own being and my own self. And so when cancer came, a lot of people kind of take it as, oh my God, it's the end of the road, end of life. And I took it as, oh my God, this is my greatest challenge ever. This was supposed to happen.
Right.
And so if you look at it that way, you treat it differently and your journey is different. And it's so hard for people to say because there's so much anger and hurt behind cancer, because we've all lost someone to cancer. There's not anyone that hasn't had a first or second, connection they've lost to cancer. Every single human being on earth. And so there's a lot of anger associated with it. And for some people, it's really difficult when I say, I took it as a gift and as a challenge. And no, it's FUCK cancer. Like that's what people continue to do. And I don't like to say that. Like, I feel like that's not, I feel like saying F cancer is not the way to look at it, because I feel like there's such an incredible lesson to be learned for everyone's cancer journey. And if you could take that, if you could digest it, I feel like it's going to help you get through it.
I agree with you 100%.
And he loves me.
Yeah, he loves you, and he's telling me I'm killing it.
You are killing it.
Thank you. It sounds like Mikey. I just absolutely love him, and and I love this too. This interchange. Here we're doing this big Give-A-Thon, and yet when you're talking about community, this is what it's all about. They're all saying hi to each other. And they're here supporting each other, and there's no greater good than you can, as much as we are doing for this cause, as much as we're doing to help to change the dynamics. It comes down to what we were just experiencing there, is that when you have people that genuinely care about each other. And we have Christopher that actually he's one of our volunteers. He traveled to Cambodia, and he's watching from Cambodia right now.
Wow.
I know. And Mikey's dad's watching too. So glad to see you. And that makes me happy. It's all in the family too. And yes, we've already been talking, because the need out there is that it's pretty simple if we keep it really down at it. Like when we were talking with Dean and I were talking at the beginning, the magic guy, and keeping it simple. When you keep it simple and you realize what life is really all about, you start realizing that there's no, it's not over till it's over. And it's just like with Cheryl, who was just on, and Healing Through Frequency, and all of the shows. You guys, we have a unique setup and lineup. We went right outside of the box. It's not all the, if you will, cookie cutter, and nothing wrong with cookie cutter, not at all. But we really went, and we have a full line of different types of ways that we can heal ourselves through mindset, through actual healing, through vibrations, through all, it's amazing what's out there in the world. Plus, then it's like you and I talked when we were on the phone, that there's such a thing as having some good doctors and some good protocols, and they really are. There are many out there that are doing exceptional work. And I know I cannot sing high enough praises for my frontline medical professionals, my doctors and my nurses, because they're in that front line, and they truly want us to be better. They want us to get through it and move through it. And that's what you're experiencing, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So there, how do I say this in a nice sense? Okay, let's leave names out of this. So
yeah,
when I was on the East Coast,
okay,
I was at some some of the big name establishments. I will not say which ones they were, and I feel like they were very by the books. They were doctors that were not interested in finding me a cure. Were not interested in they were just interested in giving me chemotherapy. And that's basically all there is to it. Mm-hmm. And so I myself and by the way, Tamara, you and I have always talked. There's nothing wrong with chemotherapy if it works for your cancer.
Right. We want that to, and that's one thing we both agreed on.
Yeah.
We and in fact, even with Chemo Buddies for Life, we make it very clear. It doesn't matter what treatment someone chooses.
I'm on an infusion. I'm on a chemo-like infusion. It's not chemo though, right? I mean, it's just we're just getting it. We're just getting it.
Right. Just to make it clear that we're not. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for saying that. Yes. Go for it.
So for the particular disease that I'm dealing with, which is a 1 in 2 million, it's a very, very rare. The chemo statistics are horrible. And like, I looked at the data and I've looked at the data with the doctors and I'm like, this is crazy. And so I read an article in Forbes magazine about this doctor and he was doing some cool research at UCSD. And I was like, I used to live in San Diego and I was like, being in San Diego and having cancer doesn't seem that bad. So I called them and we talked and you know, I sat with the guy. And what I realized is that, you know, some of the smaller hospitals, I mean, UCSD is a well-funded hospital, but some of the smaller hospitals and those doctors, they go above and beyond because they're trying to put that hospital on the map.
Right.
And so I selfishly kind of sat there and I said, hey guys, like this is something that I feel cancer patients don't do enough of. They don't pre-qualify people to be on their team. It's not like when I go into a doctor and he tells me something I don't want to hear that I can back up with data and science and say, I don't really think that that's a good idea, or my intuition says that, like, you're not on my team. Like, I feel like I have the ability to choose that. And we all have the ability to choose that. And so this guy sat down. Every single doctor I've met so far has said, you get a few years to live. That is what every single doctor has said. This doctor sat down and said, Cort, I want to see you die as an old man of natural causes. And that was it, right? That's what I wanted to hear. It was like, okay,
right.
We're going to do the testing necessary to find, you know, what's going to put you in remission or cure you. And so that level of that's where I believe that all cancer treatment is going to go. It's going to get personalized because we're all a fingerprint. Like, you could have the same type of breast cancer, you could be the same blood type, you could be the same age, and 2 different chemotherapies can work for different people. Meaning the same treatment doesn't necessarily work for the same cancer.
Right.
A lot of the times it doesn't work for the same cancer. Right.
And in fact, and to piggyback off of that, because of my experience, I agree with you 100%. And that's why I when we started this, it's just like, we're going to talk, we're going to visit, because the bottom line here, anybody that's watching this, anybody that's currently possibly looking at testing, anybody that is in the middle of talking with doctors, the bottom line is this: yes, you can interview your doctors. I did. And in fact, I did while I was going through the testing, because I knew I had a duck. I could see the duck on the screen. It's like, okay, I got a duck. They won't tell me I have cancer. I have a duck. I'm going to go figure out what I'm going to do with this duck. And so by the time I had the diagnosis, I had already found the group that I knew I wanted to go with because of what you're talking about. Each one of the files that comes in, they have what they call a cancer review or a tumor review. And they have all the different specialties, because all they do is breast health, because mine was breast cancer. And they have them all around, basically a table, virtual table, real table, whatever. And they throw the screen, the tumor up on the screen. And then they look at all the pathology report and they go through all the markers. And each one gets an individual plan, because again, we are not all the same. In fact, my original buddy, we had quote unquote very similar tumors. We were on very similar protocols, but we didn't have the same thing. And we ended up having to go through slightly different treatment plans because of that. They didn't put us through a cookie cutter situation, and we were taught. And I actually, Cort, took it for granted in a way. I think that, oh yeah, all medical groups have that kind of level of care, have that level of consideration. I mean, yes, I had gone out there and I realized I wanted this specialty group because they did have kind of more of a national way of looking at it. They were somewhat open to adjunctive therapy and some of the other things, but staying with standard protocol. And when I started talking to others and looking at doing this with the nonprofit, that's when it became eye-opening. And that is why I'm so thrilled with what you're doing and going out there and talking, because too many feel as though, oh, well, the doctors, how would I even be able to interview a doctor? How could I even have any control? And this is one of the ones that really floored me towards, then I was like, okay, I'm all in. Someone said to me, I'm like, well, have you laughed at all lately? And it was like, how dare I laugh? I've just been diagnosed. And I'm like, oh, okay, we've got to change the dynamics here, because it's like too much power has been in many ways given to, I don't want to say the wrong places. However, when it's our bodies, we need to let our bodies have a lot of the power and be able to say, okay, this, I'm going to move through this. Who's going to be with me? And when you found your doctor, because in truth, my type of cancer was the kind of cancer in the breast cancer that for the longest time took the largest number of people. They were having the hardest time finding protocols that would work. They do, and we're not that group any longer. And the ones that went through the testing, the clinical trials, many of them stage 4s with that type, they're still alive. And we're talking decades now. And so it is, that's what is so wonderful about this situation, and getting enough words out there, getting enough stories out there to say, yeah, okay, yeah, this is what I'm facing. This is the reality of it. However, am I giving up? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not giving up.
Not even close. Not even close. Not even close.
So, what is your situation now? You got a docu-series, you got the book, you did a TEDx talk. What was your TEDx talk entitled?
Oh, well, I have some news about that I think would be good to share with you, because it's something that we got into just now.
Okay.
So Ted pulled my video today.
Why?
Yeah. So, well, let's just say, Tamara, let's just say some crap is going to go down. So basically, I was told that because I was not a doctor, I was not qualified to discuss what I discussed on TED. Even though I literally went to university researchers, PhDs, and people that are literally writing the articles about this and literally using their data. By the way, I shared my TED talk with this guy at UCLA who's like the father of this practice called sociogenomics. He loved it and he wanted to share with everyone at UCLA, and Ted just pulled my video today. And so, that being said, Tamara, one thing I will say that's really starting to irritate me is the dogma of our Western medicine. It's really killing me. And so, I listen, I'll be honest with you, I had a really stressful day because of that. And again, here's me being vulnerable.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable, and thank you for being here to be vulnerable, because you know what? You're showing that life happens.
It does. And so I think the old me would have really freaked out, because the TED Talk was really my catalyst to kind of starting this kind of revolution that I envision, and that's the whole stress and cancer tie-in, and just helping cancer patients not live with chronic stress. And so, because I've lived with chronic stress for so long now, and I've seen what stress management does. And so I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be on every news station in the next 10 days.
Okay.
Because this is crazy. And like, yeah, because
go, guy, go.
because it is unfair. This is what's the most unfair thing, and you just brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfair to think that a doctor who has never had cancer knows more than you who has cancer. That is completely unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been researching my body and my cancer for the last 2 years. In fact, I probably know more about the cancer that I have than any other doctor on this planet, because no one knows about this cancer that I have.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that you know, the white coats and the research are great. Like I said, there are so many good doctors out there. There's so many good doctors that want to help. But the dogma behind the fact that me as a stage 4 cancer patient cannot contribute to other cancer patients, from my experience, is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you know, and I do understand where you're coming from, and I am here with you, and the buddies are, because you know we need to stand together in not a vigilant way, and you know, and that's where my senior advisor, she's been with me since the beginning. She was one of the chief architects with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And you talk about some vigilant stuff that was going on back in those days before the ADA was signed. You had the ones that were willing to, you know, they were handcuffing themselves to things, and then you had the other ones that were suit and ties, and you had everything in between. And the thing here that I do know, and it was something I had to really look at when we started this nonprofit, and that was, this is a tough specialty area.
Definitely.
It is. There's a lot riding on it, and so that's why being a nonprofit to support a community of the buddies, and that's why I let people know that we're grateful for those that have done what they've done. Yet we're not going to be raising funds for research and development. We are all about the people. We need a nonprofit that is willing to be out there on an international level to say the people that are affected by cancer need to be able to have a support system that is available anywhere throughout the world, that they can just access through their phone, a digital platform that, yes, there's people to that, and yes, communities will come together of buddies, yet that it's not isolated in pockets, and that we then have it, and so then the others can sink themselves into it, so that we can have strength in numbers, just like the ADA did with those that were disabled. It started with 1, and then 800 were able to get it together, and then they were on the White House line getting it signed. And they made a difference. Yet it took time. It wasn't easy, and they had to really be focused. And we didn't have a chair at that table because we didn't live during that time. Ours was not a disability. Ours was more of a death sentence. Than not anymore. We have the ability to continue going. We may never be exactly the same, but we are, we are here. And it was something that really had to make some tough choices to say, okay, we are going to be about the people that we serve, and that we together, we will help each other to get through this. And there is something with having the numbers together, that living a life with less stress, that, yes, we need that. And that's where even it has been proven in UK, I have to say, has done a lot of research in regards to that particular subject matter, much more of the, if you will, touchy-feely type stuff than some other areas, right? Where they've proven, it's in their journals that, yeah, don't do that alone, because you're not going to live as long. And we're willing to put it in a medical journal and stake our reputation behind it, because there is truth in that. So we keep it simple, and anything that we can do to help and be there with you and support you, you're a buddy.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Today was kind of a crazy day, and I just, it's just the irony of like, I barely made it on stage. I barely could stand up during this thing. They actually put me on TED.com 4 days ago. I shared it with the world, and then they pulled it. It's like, I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so, I don't know. There certainly is a lot of frustration about the dogma behind cancer. I feel like I feel like we are, I feel like we're always like walking on eggshells, and I feel like that's crazy. I mean, because you and I actually experienced it. We went through it,
right. Right. And I will say this, and of course, this is a Give-A-Thon. It's a fundraiser, and so that we can build this, because it's so needed. This platform is absolutely critically needed for people to have a safe place to say, okay, there's no agenda here. We have no agenda. We are here, except for the agenda, to help people to get through this in their best way possible. And the reality of it, any of the cancer patients, this is an amazing period of time. It almost feels like the Wild Wild West. I say that a lot with streaming media, but it's that way too in cancer, because you've got people that are now living through this. And it's almost like, okay, they wanted to do all the research for us to live through it. Now we're living through it. What are you going to do with us? and because we're not the same. And that's why we need to be able to say, okay, we can re-educate. We can, we can find ways. That's part of our programs even. We can help people to learn to be virtual assistants, that maybe they can't go to, a job anymore with a car and everything, but their mind is good. They can still work. They can still produce. They can still feel viable. They can, there's so many things that we can do. We just need to have a place and a home to be able to do it that doesn't have another agenda, and can play nicely with all of the others in that world. Because in truth, I'm alive. And I give a lot of credit to my doctors.
Sure.
And the protocols that we chose to go with. Do I have side effects? Absolutely. I do for the rest of my life. However, I'm alive. Could it look different if I had gone another way? Possibly. But who knows what that difference would look like?
Sure.
And so these are choices we make, right? So given, I'm glad that you told me about this, because of course, I'm my mind is just going, wow. And I'm going all sorts of different directions right now. However, as I'm thinking it through in my head, I'm thinking there's always never an accident in anything.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
And here you're today, you hear this, and then we're sharing on a Give-A-Thon that is designed to go out there throughout a world platform to say, we're a network of people that are healing through connections within this Buddies network. And you're a guy out there saying, okay, yeah, I'm a stage 4, but I'm gonna die an old man in my bed. And I'm working with my doctor to make that happen, because it is possible. So I'd like to be able to follow up with you in a while and see how this continues going. We'll be here with you, and because it goes back to a lot of, I'm a story person. I'm keep it simple person, and I'm thinking David and Goliath, or some of those other stories that it's like, okay, you never know what the lesson is here, but there is a lesson. It'd be interesting to see what it is, but don't feel like
I agree. I agree. There's a big lesson here for sure. I will be waiting for that lesson or looking for that lesson over the next couple weeks, months, years, who knows?
Yeah. And without having watched it, of course, I don't know what the science was that you talked about and how you presented it, because I do know that they're always so picky about language and everything. And I don't want to let the day or the time go by too much further without going into seeing what people are saying, because we've got a lot of comments going on. We've got Skip Thomas in the house. Wellness is so important. Absolutely. Connections are vital. 100%. You're a walking miracle. And then they're talking with each other again. Amazing. Awesome. So you got a lot of people that are basically just saying, thumbs up. Cort Davies.
Well, I appreciate that.
And what do you want as you're looking at the end of the year and as you're looking at 2020 coming around the corner? Let's say before you got that phone call, what is it that you want 2020 to look like for you?
Are you talking about the phone call of the cancer diagnosis or about the TED Talk?
TED Talk.
Okay. First of all, I'm not going to let the TED Talk. I'm not going to let it veer me off my path, because, the big thing for me is we want to raise awareness. Again, you and I are on a very similar path. You're starting a foundation to make connections with people, which is such a huge part of awareness and making sure the cancer patients don't feel isolated, which is one of the worst things that they can do for themselves.
Right.
And so we want to create an educational impact, on potentially hundreds of thousands, millions. And so for me, it's, teaching cancer patients that chronic stress is, it's not a maybe. It is just as important as everything else you're going through. If you're under a lot of stress, your medicine doesn't work as well. If you're under less stress, your medicine works better. If you're under less stress, you have less side effects, you have less pain. These are all scientific facts. This is not hearsay. And so what I want to get to the point where all of us cancer patients can be vulnerable enough and say, the moment the doctor says, hey, you have 3 years to live, my doctor just gave me a piece of paper and said, I'll see you at your surgery in 2 weeks. That's all I got, right? Mm-hmm. And so how do you handle that bomb being dropped on your lap? Like, that's what we need to figure out. Is it something in the medical world? Is it a care facilitator? Or is it is it people like us that can get this out a lot quicker? And I have a feeling it is people like us, because the Western medical world moves really slowly. And so having that educational impact on people is going to be really important for cancer patients, so that they don't have to go through what you and I went through. That's why we're doing this. So they don't have to go through what you and I went through.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I love it. Yes. And I'm all in. We are, similar missions, not an accident. We're meant to be, because it takes all of us to make this happen, because this is us. This is for us. This is a community of people saying, okay, no more. We're not going to let them, we're not going to let the cancer rule us. We're not going to let we're going to just kick this cancer scary to the curb. We're just going to take that power that they thought they had and kick it away. And we're going to replace that to realize that we together can get through this. Together we can. Yes, everybody's going to have something different they're going to need, but that's where a community that is driven with purpose and to help everybody with something simple as humor and hope and heart and have you had your daily dose of laughter, those type of things, to realize, let's live our lives and live them together And yes, get rid of that stress. And yes, realize that in doing these, if you will, simple things, we can take back control and we can actually make a difference.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm gonna go take a walk on the beach after this, because I know that's what I need. I know that's what my body needs. I know that's what my soul needs, you know?
love it. Well, you know what? We're about done. So yes, can we reconvene
Oh,
here in a little
of
while
course,
and
of
see how
course.
things are going?
And you and I are gonna be doing other things together. I know.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. Because you know what? We are like minded and it's all about making a difference for those people that need us
Absolutely.
and need this. So I just want to say thank you. And I am looking forward to doing some amazing things together.
Tamara, good luck on your next couple hours. Thank you for having me. I know you got a ways to go, but good luck, and thank you everybody for watching. I want to apologize if I got off to about the whole TED Talk thing. I just feel like it's a part of the story. It's a part of the vulnerability.
And I'm grateful that you shared it because you know the real thing here, and that's what I wanted this hour to be, a real hour. So
All right. So
thank
good to
you.
talk
All
to you.
right.
Bye,
And you
guys.
too. Okay, bye.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
everybody, we will be going live again in just a moment. So stay tuned. And I know that my tech team is working on taking care of a few glitches that we have, but you know, this is live. So just stay tuned. And you can catch us right now. If you're having a hard time finding us, go to YouTube, Chemo Buddies, the number 4 life, Chemo Buddies for Life, or go to Facebook, Chemo Buddies for Life. You can always go to Tamara L Hunter. Those are pretty standard. And here soon, hopefully, we'll have the website back up and going. Something happened, but we're working it out. See you in the next few moments.